orchid has no more buds and only 2 flowers left. I do see a little growth near the end of one of the flower spikes, and near this end too. I don't see, oh, maybe there's something, and there's something there. So I think this wants to bloom again. The roots, some of them are dead, but this one's growing and a new one's starting. This one looks like it's in good shape, except I accidentally broke it here. I wanted to get a good look at that tip. I can't tell whether that's still growing or not. Actually, I removed the inner pot and cut holes in this pot so that it would dry out more. I did water it a little bit this morning to soften things up, and today, because I think it's done blooming for just the moment, I am going to take the chance to repot it. When I water it, I get a very moldy smell, so I don't think that what's in here is very good, at least in this environment. So I'm going to repot it today. I have my glue gun heating up. I'm using low temperature so I don't burn myself again. This is the old pot. This is the container I'm going to use to make a new pot. What I think I'll do is cut off the bottom and flip it inside out and hot glue it inside out there, and that'll make a little bit of a bump. I need a cutting tool. I have a selection. Did I mention I like tools? I think I will pick a firm blade for this one. I think that shape's okay. I have some foam that I can use and put inside to cut against, but right now, let's see, I want it about there, maybe just a little bit lower. Let's try right there. Okay, I'll use that to mark it. I think it was about there. So I put a mark on this, and this is pushing against the bottom. I'm trying to learn how to use jigs, how to adapt the concept that's so common in woodworking. I want to adapt to other craft materials. Measure twice, right? Alright, we're going to do it at that level. And what I should have done is turn this toward me so that I can compare the new marks with the previous marks, and then I wouldn't have gotten off so much. Yeah, that's good enough. Should I try cutting in this way, or would it be safer to cut in this way? I think this is safer because I can brace my hand. When I'm using sharp tools and I'm worried about getting hurt, I try to brace in as many ways as I can. It's also good when you can turn the piece and keep the tool steady. This may have been a mistake. Maybe I should have just used the whole thing. But I had a problem with my other orchid. The pot was too tall. All the weight was at the top with the orchid, and so the thing kept tipping over. I just cracked it. That's okay. Alright, so I've got this crack. I'm just going to turn that into a slit. Okay, I can see that this plastic is very fragile. Maybe these... I'm going to put that over the top like that, and that way the drainage will be down into the crack between this and this. Well, that's good. So I just need some basic drainage here. Yeah, I know, just buy a pot. That would be easier. Better result. But I like hacking things, so what can I say? I'm going to line this with hot glue first. I want it to be rounded so that if the roots get in here, they won't push themselves up against the sharp edges. Is that stupid? Should I have filed it instead? I don't know. With improv, you don't always know what you're doing. You just do something, see if it works, and go from there. What I'm going to do is do it around the outside where those little cracks are to try to keep those cracks from growing. Okay, now I'm going to cut off that little bump so that this will sit flat more or less on the surface. That looks okay to me. I kind of want to push these tabs out, so I'm going to put a line of hot glue. No, then it won't drain. I'm going to put a dashed line of hot glue around here to kind of push those tabs out. I'm leaving a little drain hole. I finished with lines because that was the smarter way to go. And then I realized I could just make it triangular so that the water would be channeled to either side. So now I want to put this on top. I like that I'm having to stretch it over that because that means there's a bit of a gap around the bottom. So there's sort of holes here, and that's good. Now, does it sit up straight? No. Where the outer sticks up here, the inner sticks up here. Yeah, that looks straighter to me. And now I will make like little feet of hot glue. And glue it to the outer container at the same time. I kind of pressed this away and got some hot glue in between the two layers and then blobbed it up on top. And I'm just going to go around again and make the blobs bigger. It's going to be fun getting rid of all the spiderwebby things. Okay, I think I've got enough nubs. I've cleaned off my workspace, cleaned off my tools, thanked them, put them away. I don't always thank my tools, but I actually like the idea. I want to sterilize the scissors. I like this thing. If you press it down, it squirts up and fills the well, but if you have something covering it, either the cover or the cotton ball, then it doesn't squirt up. It just fills the well. I've got another one that I have to open the cover to push it in, and then I can't get anything in the well, like if I want to use a toothpick. This is rubbing alcohol. And I will clean off my scissors. And while I have this, I'll clean off some of the marks that I made. I should have done this before I added hot glue because some of the marks are actually under the hot glue, so it's too late to clean them. Well, I cleaned off most of the spiderwebby things. Is that something you would have liked to have seen? Is that an enjoyable thing? I know I enjoy it. As long as the glue is cool. But is it any fun to watch, or is it just fun to do? I think I'm going to go wash this with hot soapy water. I have some bark chips. They look like this. They're a little bit moist. She also had some bark chips that were intended for outside, I believe. They're a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to break them up a bit. I did wash my hands. I also rinsed this with peroxide and shook it out over the bathtub away from anything that the peroxide would harm, like, say, the shower curtain. I'm letting it air dry for now. So let me get some of my sphagnum moss. You see it's kind of brownish and it's an uneven color. There are bits that are like right there. That's nice and clean, but most of the rest is sort of a brownish gray. There was another package for $2 more that was all kind of this color, and I should have gotten that. I've ordered online and gotten the really good stuff, but I should have at least bought the best of what was available. If I wash this out, if I soak it, and then kind of shake it and drain it and do that 2 or 3 times, it gets a lot cleaner. So I think I'm going to do that. I've washed my moss. A lot more of it has this light color. This is still damp, so it's not as light as it would be if it were dry. I could put some peroxide on it and that would help lighten it, which also makes me think that the ones that are really light, maybe they've been peroxided. Combed my fingers through in an open way to try to get the longer strands. Here's the stuff that was left behind. The pot's dry. Scissors are still sterilized. I'm good, as I realized I need some room and a trash area to unpot my orchid. So I don't know whether I should pull out the stakes first or not, but I think I won't. So let's see how to keep the... Here are the bits of bark I put in to try to keep some air around the roots. I guess I just kind of try to tease this apart. It feels like it's mostly moss. I don't want to break the roots. What about this side? Now it feels like it's all very tightly bound, so I'm going to take this whole thing, put it in here, and dunk it in water and see if I can soften it up. And I want to rinse them before I repot them. It took a lot longer than I expected. It took so long that I ended up putting on some audio and listening to that while doing this. I filled this with water. At first I had cold water and then I got my hands into it and said no, 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 and I warmed it up. Really, I filled it up almost to the brim. I put some of this stuff underneath so it wouldn't clog my drain. And I started squeezing it. Just a little bit, let it go, it gets a little bigger. Squeeze it again, a little more, it gets a little bigger, and I could kind of feel the wetness getting further and further in, so that part was good. I started digging my fingers in, you know, kind of wiggling them and trying not to break anything. I made the mistake of going in from the top and trying to get that loose first. If I had it to do again, I would do it at the bottom, because by the time I got down to here, it had all the weight of the clingy stuff on it and not so much to support it, so I should have taken it off from the bottom. I did end up taking the spikes out, and I did not try to get every last little bit, because maybe there are little fine things clinging to these bits. This all seemed quite long. I don't think it was in all that bad a shape as I thought, and it actually seemed longer than some of the stuff I was using and lighter in color. So this is probably the good quality stuff. So maybe I'm doing this poor plant a disfavor by repotting it, except it was so tight and so compact in there, and it was starting to smell, so maybe I did do it a favor. So I saved this, and when dried out I'll take a look at it later. Now I need to look and see if there are any dead roots. Like that one seems dead right there, but I don't think I can, well, that part I can get off. I don't want to risk hurting the plant. That seems dead. Of course, now it just got stuck on there. This definitely. And this. There's some other stuff in here. Okay, that one. But here it's okay. So I'll cut it here. This is dead, but when I get to here it's plump. So I'm just going to try to cut away the part that's dead. That one seems okay. Again, this stuff, it seems to be clinging to it. This little thread of stuff here coming off of there, that's dead. And I think that might be a root that's dead. Or that could just be the moss, I can't tell. I really want to put this down. I think I will put it down here. Try to be gentle so that I can use both hands. I don't know whether I'm cutting off moss or those stringy sort of roots. keep my good moss away from the stuff I'm cutting off, right? That would make sense. Okay, now the yellow is not in itself a bad sign. It just means it hasn't gotten light, but the roots don't have to have light. At least that's what the gurus say. I'll put links in the description. Okay, that's dead. Let's see if I can find out where. That's pretty mushy. All the way up to there. Probably can't do this so that it's safe for the plant and visible to you. That one actually feels okay. It looks terrible, but it feels okay. I'm going to go with that. I feel like I should get a tweezers and clean that out, but I'm worried if I poke it with the tweezers, I'm going to do it some injury. Guess I can wipe off the leaves later. Okay, so I have the pot. I have the plant. I have the moss, and I have bark chips. So I'm going to put some moss in the bottom of the pot, and it had just moss, but I was in a nursery where they knew how to take care of them, and I really don't. But I'm still going to put more moss than bark chips. And make sure that the moss below touches the moss in the next layer so that it can wick up water if it wants to. Oh wait, I'm putting too much in. I need to put the roots in here. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't have much vertical room because of the camera. There we go. This root wants to be in the air, or has learned to be in the air, so we'll leave it in the air. And I can't put it down any further than this because these bottom leaves are holding me up, so I'm going to tuck some moss around all the sides and the back, and I'm making a mess. Well, gosh. I'm going to tuck it in a little bit because they said that the roots like to be moist. Unlike some of the other orchids that like to dry out completely between waterings. So the bark helps it to dry out, but also gives it ways of getting air. Gives the roots ways of getting air. So I want to make sure that the bark gets all the way down to the slit. That way I get some air circulation. I may be packing this too tight. There is a risk there, because, as I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm definitely not one of the gurus. This is my first, the 3 orchids that I bought are the first ones I've ever owned, or even been around. I don't think there were any orchids in my house growing up. Okay. I think this root is trying to get down into the potting mix. I'm trying to tuck this under the leaf a little bit. I want to leave a little bit of air under the leaf. Let me show you sideways. Because there are some little leaves down here that maybe they shouldn't be touching the soil. I don't know. The soil, this stuff. I'm going to put a few pieces of bark on top. I don't know whether I should or not. That's what I should do. I'm going to tuck the bark. I'm going to lift the plant up and tuck some bark underneath the leaves. I could use this, because that will keep the moss from touching the leaves, and at least in my mind, Oops. That should keep them from being too wet. So I really want to tuck it underneath the lower leaf in order to support that. Okay, there we go. So I think this whole thing needs to sit higher than I had it. So I'll do that. These flower stalks feel pretty firm, so I'm okay handling it by them for the moment. This is probably boring for you. I can always put it on fast. You can always watch it on fast. You know how to control the speed when you're watching videos? Alright, a couple more under the leaves. Alright, so this whole thing is pretty wobbly, so I definitely need these spikes. I was looking at these clips, and they're the kind that has the little ledge here. So what you're supposed to do is get the stabilizer in between those two little things. If you do it right, it holds this from grabbing too tightly. When I looked at this, I saw evidence on this stem that these had grabbed too tightly, and the same over here. So while I am going to put these back for now and make sure that they're kept open by these stakes, because I'm worried about damaging it, and I'll try to get that stake into the little thing that keeps them apart. So there, it's there, but this is not loose inside that clasp, so I need a bigger clasp. They had the two crossed, so I'll try hooking it in that way, kind of that direction. Nice and snugly in there, and then around the thing. So let's see, did I get it right? I'm not sure I did. Well, that's the best I can do for now. But there is my repotted orchid. Stuff's gonna fall out if I'm not careful. And there are the remaining two flowers.